Kuwait's Constitutional Court has declared a parliamentary election last September null and void. The court has ruled that the previous parliament should be reinstated. Last year, Kuwait's Crown Prince dissolved parliament and called early elections in a bid to end political feuding. Let's bring in Badr Al-Saif. He's an assistant professor of history at Kuwait University. Joins us now from Kuwait City via Skype. Good to have you with us on the programme, sir. I mean, how unprecedented is it to have elections annulled and a previous parliament reinstated?
Kuwaiti politics defies the obvious. This isn't actually a precedent. We've had one happen before. So we've had a parliament annulled in 2012, which was also voted in 2012. It took a bit shorter than this one. This current one stayed for 6 months only, while the previous case that I referred to has lived on for 4 months. We've seen a growing assertion of the Kuwaiti Constitutional Court in the constitutional affairs of the country, which only makes sense because the court was built and put in place to look at ambiguous issues that arise when the constitution is not observed. And this has happened yet again. It feels like deja vu 2012 in reality.
So with the Constitutional Court having interceded, are we looking at a constitutional crisis, or are we just looking at a sort of holding pattern until elections happen again?
Well, the Constitution is quite clear. When a parliament is annulled, dissolved, you have 60 days until the new elections come through. And this is not the case because you have a parliament in place right now. So you already have the 2020 parliament in place. But what I see happening is the same reasons that led to the dissolution of the 2020 parliament, the unconstitutional dissolution, now we know from today's ruling, will probably lead us to yet another dissolution. But it behooves the government at this stage, because what the court points the fingers to is some government malpractice. They should have done their homework better. They should have researched a much safer way to dissolve the parliament, and hence the grounds will be placed now so that they can prepare for that moment. So now we will see the 2020 parliament reconvene. The parliamentarians, for example, that were never elected to parliament before will not be considered MPs if they were only elected in the 22 parliament. And I foresee a new parliament coming through and new elections in the coming months.
What do you think the Kuwaiti public make of all of this? I mean, you say, obviously, there is precedence. 2012 is, what, 11 years ago. The public changes, the demographics change, the politics change. How do you think the Kuwaiti public are going to react to this? And will it change the makeup of any future parliamentary body that we see in Kuwait City?
Let me tell you, Kuwaitis are exhausted. We feel that this has been taking much of the steam that is required and the energy that is required to develop the country. There is much ridicule mode out there today concerning the recyclicality of the system. There needs to be a major reset, and that major reset, as I've called in many of my pieces in the past, requires new thinking. We need to think of a new political pact. We need to think of a new constitution. We need to think of new rules of engagement. So trying to continue in the same fold hasn't been helpful. It hasn't helped Kuwait in the near past, and it will not help it in the near future.
We shall see what happens. Badr Al-Saif, thanks for joining us from Kuwait City. Thank you.
Thanks.